Welcome back to Omni Garage. So we're just cruising down to our secret little filming spot, eh? We're going to do a just a little bit of a walk around the car. Not necessarily a pros and cons type video, but we'll talk through a few things I like about daily driving this car, and then a few things I don't like. And basically had this car for a month or so in my ownership, so I haven't experienced like the service and things like that, but I've definitely got a few things I want to say and just work through my sort of initial thoughts on daily driving this vehicle. So this is a 2014 Audi SQ5. It's a V6 3-litre supercharged, and that's basically why you want to kind of buy this type of SUV. So come inside and I'll show you some of the user functions that you get when you're driving this vehicle. So when I'm plodding around town, I typically have the car set up in efficiency mode, and I think that mode is designed so that you get the most fuel economy out of the vehicle, and I think also your throttle response and things like that, the valves are closed on the exhaust, etc., and it's just literally an efficiency mode for driving around town. Now I suppose when you need to pull out in front of traffic or you want to have a little bit of fun in the car, you can come across to dynamic mode, and this is really where this car shines. So dynamic mode sort of increases your throttle throttle response, and opens the valves, and you get a little bit more noise out of the car, and definitely when you put your foot down you can definitely feel that you're in that mode. Now I have experienced cars in the past where you do have things like efficiency mode or a comfort mode and a more of a dynamic sporty mode, but you can't really tell the difference which mode you're in. Yes, you may get a little bit of throttle response extra, but typically you can't really feel the difference. In this car specifically, 100% you can tell when you're in efficiency mode or when you're in dynamic mode, and that's a really nice feature to have in this vehicle. There's a couple of other modes here, comfort and auto. I'm not too sure about what these modes mean and the difference between them, but I do know that in individual mode you can set up you personally. I haven't had much time to play around with that, but I definitely know that I've enjoyed driving efficiency mode when I'm going to and from work, and then when I want to have a little bit of fun, dynamic is there, and it definitely can feel the difference. This car has a 70-litre tank, and it costs roughly, well, I put E85 in it, it's costing about $200 to fill that tank up. Audi does sort of recommend, or does sort of give me an indication up here on the dash, that I get 700 kilometers from that tank. In reality, that's not quite true. I get roughly 600. Bearing in mind I have had this car for the first month, and so usually in the first month or so of ownership you like to experience with things, you like to drive a little bit more harder and rougher than you typically would when you're a year into it. And I would say when I compare that to the Subi, I get roughly 350 to 400 kilometers from a tank that's a 50-litre tank, so they're probably on about par. I definitely wouldn't say you would buy this car if you're looking for a fuel efficient vehicle. You would try and find something a little bit different, but you definitely notice that when you're in efficiency, it's exactly that. The car is more efficient, you don't use as much fuel. When you come into dynamic mode, you can see on your electronic gauge here that when you put your foot down, you will easily burn through, or it'll drop down 10 kilometers just like that. So you do have to be a little bit careful. So the styling of this car, although it's really subtle, it still lets you know that you're in a premium vehicle, and Audi have done a really good job at making that subtle. So you do have things like styling around the steering wheel here, let you know you've got Audi, you've got your SQ5, and coming into the leather seats here, you've got nice stitching, and you've then got this embossed here on the back of the seat there. I really like those subtle features. Coming from the WRX, there's not much of that type of thing you're seeing in the car. This was an option that you could choose, that we got the carbon fiber trim, so it's on the front of the dash here. The carbon fiber trim is on the doors. And the alternative to that was that sort of silver look you can see on the door handle there, and that would have made the car look a little bit older than it really is. And then when you come down to the door trim there, you've got SQ5 written on the bottom, and that sort of lights up. You do get a bit of a light that comes on the footpath there, and so I really enjoyed just having those little subtle things that sort of make the car feel a little bit more premium. One thing I've never experienced before is having a dark headliner. So under here, this headliner is black. Typically what you get is you get like a grey colour, and it always has fingerprints and things like that. But this just makes the cabin feel a little bit more premium, and I'm really enjoying having this dark headliner here. Now to some people, this is a really strange feature that I enjoy about this car. Most people have got modern cars, have experienced it for some time, and a lot of these features are sort of on most cars that you buy. But this gas cap here, it's pushed to open. So typically I've experienced cars with the little latch on the inside, and then you've got to come into the car and pull that up and remember to do this. when I'm cleaning the car as well, I like to clean it around the gas cap and things like that. I don't need to reach into the car with, you know, soapy fingers and stuff like that. I can just push on here and it pops right open. Another feature I like is that when you're at the gas station, this just usually hangs down, you know, hangs down onto the paint and damages around the outside of this, but this has got a nice little hook on the inside. So yes, it's a very simple feature, but it's something that I've really enjoyed having and something I haven't experienced before. So coming down to these wheels, yes, I really like the finish of the wheels. The 21-inch wheels are great. We've got big brake calipers. That's the problem, is that these calipers or these brake pads in here produce so much brake dust. I've never experienced so much before. Within a week, actually, I only washed this car the other night and we're already dirty. So within a week, these wheels are completely black. I could probably fix that. I could probably go in and buy some different brake pads to try and reduce that, but just bear in mind, if you get this car factory and it's still got the factory brakes on here, they do produce a lot of brake dust. The other thing I don't like is that when I come to clean this car, in and around these wheel wells here, is this, it's not necessarily a thermal lining, but it's just like a suede type material. It's fluffy to touch and it's all over the car, so it's all underneath as well. But what happens is a lot of dirt, grime, you know, leaves and all that type of stuff gets stuck up in this sort of fluffy lining, and then when you come to clean it, it holds on to a lot of water, it holds on to a lot of soap, and then you can be rinsing that for ages and ages. I would much prefer having the plastic liner where I can just wipe it down and it would be clean. But again, I suppose it's a premium car, so you do get this premium feature, but it's something that I would rather not have. A feature of this vehicle I'm enjoying is that when you lock the car, you can see that automatically the wing mirrors there, they fold up. And that's super nice because, you know, when you've parked it in a shopping mall or things like that, these folding up automatically basically is a little safety feature that sort of prevents the person parking next to you slamming into them. Now also when I'm at work, I park along the road, and I can just imagine cars coming through and just side swiping that every now and again. And so that there, although it's probably not going to prevent a lot of damage, and actually I can see that someone's already hit that one before, but it's just a little preventative measure there. The other thing is that in my two-car garage, it's really close together, and so having this feature where the wing mirrors basically fold up means that I can still walk in between the two cars. So it's a nice thing to have. I'm hating the rain guards. So these came on the car factory from Japan. They need to be removed, and I will fix it by taking them off when the car gets a detail, because yes, it's nice, you can have the window down about yay and it stops the rain from coming in, but when you're trying to clean these, you've got to get your wash mitt in up in here. These get rain spots on them or water spots on them, and they're just a pain to clean. And personally, I think they look quite ugly, so they will be getting removed. So when the car is locked, what you can do is you can have the key in your pocket, and you can come up to the door handle and you can just open it straight away. So it's sort of got a little bit of a sensor there. It recognises that you're close proximity, that you have the key, and it will automatically unlock. Conversely, if you've got the key in your pocket, you've just got out, you do have the ability to put your finger on that button and it will lock. Now that's a really nice feature, so if you've got, I don't know, you've got the key in someone's handbag or the keys in someone else's pocket, and you're with a group of people that anyone can open the door from anywhere, like even if we come around to this side, you can open it from the rear as well. So the car's locked. So it's not just the driver's door, it's any of the doors. And I'm not sure about this, you must be able to lock it from there as well. Yes, you can. So that's a really nice feature. And I'm sort of used to getting the key out and using your finger to open it, because that's what I've been used to, but I'm just getting used to having that technology available to me. So once unlocked and you're ready to drive, you don't have to have the key plugged in. You can just have it sitting in the tray and things like that. You've got to put your foot on the brake, and we do have the engine start stop button. But there is an option for you to plug it into this little hole here. I'm not necessarily sure what that allows, but I think what it does is it means that if you are not in the driver's seat and you may be parked up at the supermarket or whatever, and you had a couple of people in the car, then they can still use the radio and the air and things like that. So I think it gives them that ability to have those controls. You can plug that in and you can drive with that. So I suppose if you had drinks and things like that, then that is a little place for you to put the key, but it's not necessary for you to operate the vehicle with that plugged in. One thing I have noticed with this vehicle is that the wing mirrors on this car are huge compared to what I've experienced before. They're a lot bigger, and that's a good thing because you can see a lot more. I have noticed that this here is a massive blind spot for this vehicle. So yes, I could bring my seat up and forward, and I could try and adjust my seating position so that this wasn't a blind spot. But typically when you come up to a roundabout and the car is right there coming around the roundabout in your blind spot, you can't see it. It does a really good job of blocking the car. I've been really lucky. I've had 2 close calls with it, and so now I know that I do have to look over and around the mirror when I am approaching those type of areas. But I would probably like that to be slightly forward so that I could see around the mirror. But I mean, that's just a design feature of this car, and I could get around it, but I'm in a comfy position here. So a couple of other features about this car is, yes, it's got a reversing camera. It is quite specific, so that when I notice I'm turning the wheel slightly, those lines, like a little turn on the wheel here, creates quite a drastic change to the angle at which this happens. So it's a nice feature to have. It definitely shows you the field of view behind you, and you can see that it's clear, ready to go, but it can be a little bit aggressive sometimes when you're turning the vehicle. I do have parking sensors at the front and at the rear of the vehicle, and that's super nice. So when I'm pulling into the driveway and into the garage at home, I know how far I can go before I smash into the washing machine and things like that. And there is also a side camera. So on this side here, if we turn that on, this camera is really good because it means that I know how close I can get before I hit things like the lawnmower and things like that. I like to pull the car reasonably close to those things so that I'm not smashing the door into another vehicle when I'm opening it. So those features are really nice. Typically, you know, this car is 2014, so it's pretty old technology. Nearly every car you get at the moment has these features, but it's something that I haven't experienced. I've come from a 2007 WRX, so just imagine daily driving that for 7 years. You have to do this all by yourself, so having these things is something that I'm really enjoying at the moment. So there you have it. That is my thoughts of owning this car for the first month or so. So if you're interested in these type of videos, we have done one on a 2007 WRX, we've done one on a 2019 Subaru STI, we've also just finished filming one on a Tesla Model 3. So if you're interested in checking out those videos, go through the catalogue, have a look, subscribe to the channel so you also get the updates of when we're producing new videos, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more content from Omni Garage.